Okay, guys, we are on our 19th nightmare cut on the throttle body injection head. We are coming along, but I did make a slight mistake, and I'll show you. When I was working on the fin, let's see if we can see that a little bit. I changed the angle of our swirl fin quite a bit because I wanted to knock some swirl down and increase our CFM. So it's an experiment. When I did, I knocked a little bit of clay out that was filling the hole in the short side. So that will add some serious turbulence as the valve is lifting. That is probably not helping us. But I might as well let you guys know when I screw up. It's too much work not to show you. So let's take a look. As far as we're on the chamber, it changed angles a little bit. It's actually wider on the top part of the chamber. This part of the chamber does have some speckling. I think it's a little narrower on the top of that bowl and a little lighter towards the roof. Let's take a look at our bore and see how much that changed. Okay, still really wide. And we do have a little bit of a drip, but not too bad. I still think it's pretty good the way it is. Our valve looks good. I would say it's probably a touch narrower than we saw last time. I think it's a little narrower. It's also a little bit narrow at the top of that bowl, so that makes sense. Okay. Not quite up to the roof, but not bad. It's got a nice even pattern as far as liquid all the way up. Let me change that lighting and see if we can do better than that. I'm not sure if that's better, but it's a little bit different lighting. Okay. You can see that ramp has been moved over quite a bit. Now you can see there's actually a little bit of the valve guide boss protruding, where it wasn't like that before. So I took a nice whack out of it. The Sonic still says there's tons of metal there. And because I have to find out on the junk head, it's going to be moved until I know it's a loser. How's that sound? Okay, let's see if we can get decent pictures of this. This looks pretty good. I mean, as far as the chamber, let me one-hand this. As far as this part of the chamber, I think this is the best coverage we've seen so far. Remember, it used to get a lot of splatters up here. Really don't have that. It's just a light powdering now. I think I like the light powdering better than the splatters. That actually looks good to me. The bowl looks good. You can see, all right, you can see our ramp. This wasn't here before, so I took a big piece out of this. This whole thing moved over. The short side is wider, and by accident, I knocked that piece of clay out. I'll show you that. Okay, I think you guys can see that. It doesn't look good. I whacked that short side down way too much, and it was flowed with that ugly piece missing. And you have to remember, it'll be under a vacuum, so it's going to have air pouring from the water jacket in. It's going to cause a huge amount of turbulence right there. So I do have to remember to cover that with clay for our next cut. To be honest, this cut worked out pretty well. I mean, it wasn't a complete win, but after I realized I made that mistake with the clay, I'm going to Sonic that again, and I may take that a little further. Let's take a look at our numbers, guys. Okay, guys, 18th cut, 208, 50 degree with a back cut versus 19th cut. Major ramp change. Okay, that's a good size cut. How did we do as far as flows? Equals, minus, minus, plus, minus, equals, plus, 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 minus. We lost 4 0.4 at 700, which I'm not thrilled about. Okay. Exactly the same at 800. 900 was 297.6. And at 1 inch lift, we are 300.3 CFM. Take a look what happened to the swirl. I cut that ramp to knock our swirl down. And at an inch, we are over 4,000 RPM. That is the most swirl we've seen to date on these. They were about 3,500 bone stock. So it's still a swirl port. And let's say if we run something in the 600 plus range between 2380 and 3198, that's still a little more swirl than I'd like, to be honest. I wouldn't mind knocking it down a little more. So that just feeds right into me cutting that ramp down a bit more. As far as the swirl curve, this swirl curve versus this swirl curve, that's these pluses and minuses. Minus, 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 plus, plus, minus, minus, plus, minus, minus, plus. Overall, I think it's just a tiny bit better than this one. You know, I don't know. I like that these are a little bit lower in here. Okay? And let's say it's 600, 26 and change, 23. I'll take this one. I'll take the last cut. Now, we'll take a look at our air speeds, okay? 260, 260, 260. We're moving a little more air now at 600. We went from 278.4 to 287. So we increased on the floor, increased in the middle, but the roof died because the short side is so much wider now, okay? So that makes sense to me. I'm not thrilled with it dying, but I'm going to think about what to do with that. I don't know. I don't have a game plan for that at the moment. Okay, our roof was 213, 130. I don't know why I have a plus there. That's a minus. So that's a mistake. Let's fix that. Okay, we lost some roof speed and we lost some center of the cylinder speed, which makes sense because I gave it more area, right? Which was, of course, I did that at the floor, not at the roof. But still it affects it. It actually increased. What it tends to do is it tends to work on the opposite part of the ball. Let me show you. Okay. Now what happens in a regular standard port, right? If I make a change here, it will also change our air speeds in this corner over here. Why does it do that? I don't really have an answer, but it just seems to be the way the dynamics work. So that is probably what happened. I gave it more area on that short side near the ramp, and it increased that roof side on the other side. In any case, our roof speeds are a little closer together. That's a win. Now, how do we do on our short side? All right, we'll be 327, 347, 300. Minus, minus, minus. It liked it. Okay, not a complete win, but there still are more pluses than there are minuses, so it is a win. And it had a hole in the short side. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to give it another good size whack after I sonic it. And it's basically going to be the same test without the hole in the short side and a little more of an angle on that ramp. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out and sticking this thing out with me because I did say I could get these to 260 or 265, and we got that beat pretty good at this point. Yeah. Even I don't believe it. I don't know. It's up there, guys. It's moving a lot of air. It's not a small port either. I'm sure it's well over 200 cc's at this point. But that's okay because it's going to be spun, so that'll work. You can actually see how that short side doesn't even have an arc on it anymore. I must have whacked that when I was when I was moving that ramp over, because it's got a big flat spot on that short side. I'm going to have to put a nice big fat piece of clay on that. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good night.